Time for another reading from Failsafe, the Kennedy Curse, fused with science fiction fantasy. Written by me, Susan MeeLing, Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, a few other names. So, back to the reading. The students stopped their clamoring and focused to the longer-haired male with the average length, thick and cleanly trimmed beard. Slowly, the students ceased their comments of concern to see what that male was going to do or say next. Though not completely forgetting about the technological problems, the classmates became mesmerized. The teacher continued clapping his hands boisterously while standing in a single spot for the moment. Looking to the room of confused individuals, he grinned softly externally, but sadistically within, while he continued to keep with the hand-clapping pace and begun a less boisterous dance. When more than 2 minutes of silence from the room occurred outside of his clapping, the male stopped suddenly, shockingly, and stunning all mildly. He rubbed his palms together before sliding each hand over the top of his head, smoothing the few stray strands of hair a few times before he did the same movement with his thick beard. He sighed audibly several times without any other comments in front of everyone in the class. Taking a moment to look out of the window, he returned his gaze towards the students. Opening his arms wide, he exclaimed abruptly, "Hello, everyone! Welcome to this class!" Slowly, the students looked up from their electronic devices and stopped their conversations when he added, "This is the first time I have offered to teach laughable quotes of the Christian Bible. Ish. In attempts to gain the attention of the collegians, the teacher stated, "This is the beginning, exactly 34.5 years after the Mayan calendar said this world would die. But the time is relative." With everyone in the class looking towards the front of the room with a glazed over look, he joyously declared, "Welcome to the course for this semester, beginning on the 6th of June in 2046-ish, depending which calendar you're looking at. I am your teacher, Mr. Henry." He noticed the residual confusion and anger throughout the classroom as he added, "It is time to begin class now." Waving his hand, walking away from the whiteboard, he continued, "This course is not to discuss any other spiritual or religious platforms beyond Christianity and the Bible. However, keep in mind that the Old Testament of the Bible is a combination of the Torah and the Quran." He added cautiously, "Though remember, so I do not have to deal with any complaining emails. I am not here to convert you." Clearing his throat as he pointed to the words on the board, saying out loud, "This class is solely for the discussion purposes only." One of the students yelled out, "What's wrong with my technology, dude?" Picking up the laptop on the desk to show a picture of a Bible before projecting the image on the whiteboard as he said, "If any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life." Walking across the front of the room, showing the tablet, Mr. Henry said, "So says the book of Revelations in chapter 22, verses 19 through 20. One undergraduate exclaimed, "I was just about to buy from the 30-minute sale, and you made me lose my cart." Another student yelled from the back of the class, "My download was almost complete for the entire series." Several other undergraduates simply cried out in stereo repeatedly, "Fix it! Fix it! Fix it now! Fix it!" Mr. Henry took a few seconds to catch his breath while keeping the picture of the Bible showing before he continued speaking. "Out of the holy city and from the things which are written in these books, there is testimony." Returning to the opposite side of the room, adding, "These things mean surely, I will come quickly." Another group of collegians continued attempts to understand how anyone could break their security measures past the battery, as a separate set exclaimed, "Just a few seconds more!" And lowering his head solemnly, he whispered to himself while causing the entire room silence themselves. "Amen. Even so shall come the Lord or Lady Jesus." Mr. Henry crossed his arms while popping one hip to the side. "Who wrote this dreary and dreadful book which says we cannot take any words away without punishment?" Waving on with one hand while keeping his arms crossed, while he joked, and only a handful of students chuckled before he asked, "Has the author heard of a high-priced attorney from either of the two major American coasts?" Tossing the tablet onto the desk, Mr. Henry said, "That book does not know. I am just saying." Laughter followed as the teacher waved one arm towards the window, commenting, "This view is such a beautiful life," smiling deviously while Mr. Henry asked, while walking towards the board to point at the information, "I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, 'Who is worthy to open the book?'" He added, "Who is worthy to loosen the seals of the truth thereof?" Returning his eyes to the room, he stated, "The last quote is from the book of Revelations in the 5th chapter, verse 2. Looking around the glazed over looks of the attention drained from the students, he added, kinda nervously, "If anyone understands numerology, this is the symbol of 7. Mr. Henry paced back and forth while explaining, "You are able to choose whether or not to look for the information on your own time." He added, "This could be used for further knowledge on the subject of numerology and spiritual symbolism." Shrugging his shoulders while he paced, the professor said nonchalantly, "Though I suppose it also depends of what you think of my opinion to give you the grade I think you have earned means to you." Shrugging his shoulders, Mr. Henry whispered, drawn out, "Okay. For fun, can anyone figure out the pattern of today?" Mr. Henry attempted to engage his class without much success. He waited before saying, "June is the number of 6 in the calendar, as the day is the 6th, and the last number for the year is 6. One student asked, "What about the 4? Chuckling, the teacher said, "The Asian number of death." Declaring loudly to change the topic back to the electronic problems, "I believe I have shown I can open your books. No, yes. And death. Well, that doesn't always mean the physical. Looking to the board and pointing to the initial quote he added to instigate emotions, how smart do the hackers and hacktivists within this classroom feel about my ability to completely dominate every bit of pieces of your technology? He chuckled to himself within the anger of the crowded classroom to add, did you think any one of you within this classroom could out-hack or out every single safety protocol or each and every one of the hackers of the universe? Are you a special snowflake to your family or to the world? Mr. Inry posed to the classroom of several agitated collegians. The crowd within the classroom became instantly rowdy and upset. Mr. Inry said, additionally, in a calm voice, be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die. The class calmed while he added, for I have not found any of thy works perfect before God. Tapping his desk during another pacing pass, he declared with pride loudly, in this building and place, I am your God. The undergraduates tilted their heads to the side as he continued, remember thou hast received and heard, to hold fast and repent when the time comes. Mr. Inry took a moment looking to the ground while he paced back and forth in front prior, asking, have I proven I have outdone all of you? Without any response from the students verbally to the teacher, Mr. or Ms. Inry said additionally, if therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief in the night. He paused momentarily while watching the students sitting in frustration, fiddling with themselves to say, thou shalt not know what hour I will come down upon thee. Grinning, as the teacher added, this is from the book of Revelations in chapter 3, verses 2 through 3. Pausing the Bible and biblical conversation momentarily to inquire of the vegetative understanding from the class. Several students were quick to comment of various growing techniques for indoor cultivation. One person swore by reverse growing methods, while others argued over hydrotypes. Plenty of other undergraduates stated their preferred methods for outdoor growing in comparison to assisting plants inside. Many debated over water versus aero versus soil composition mixtures created by the user. Middle groups of people discussed their preferences for both with positive and negative aspects. Bringing chemical versus organic into the debate only heightened the levels of frustration in the classroom. Asking levels of growing experience, the competition between the undergrads needlessly began. Just before the room became out of control, Mr. or Ms. Inry asked of the most difficult species anyone has ever had to work with. The usual house plants of orchids and tomato plants began the conversation. Before delving off into medicinal purposed vegetation, he stopped, or she stopped their discussion to ask a quick question, wanting to know if anyone heard of the plant known as Amor Fulphallus titanium. Several students giggled quietly, explaining to the undergrads the plant will usually bloom in the wild every 2 or 3 years, informing additionally of the problems for the plant in an indoor container gardening, only allowing the plant to bloom every 7 to 10 years. Extremely experienced gardeners are the only ones recommended to attempt the plants. Mr. or Ms. Henry remarked of the oddity of the 2 plants blooming within weeks of each other in Chicago, as well as Denver, after discussing the habitat necessary for the plant to thrive, asking if anyone knew the translated name of that plant. Explaining to the class, amour was not the name as usually first thought for the term of love. Chuckling while informing the class they were correct for both the term name phallus and giant, though taking a few guesses to correctly name the meaning for titanium. Most kept chuckling to themselves, while the class sat listening intently as adding the full translation had been without form or mishappened phallus. He pulled, or she pulled, a picture of the flower in full bloom to state, if this picture of the Amorphophallus titanium does not look the opposite of a phallus, I cannot say what would. Many students in the class gazed upon the flower, looking similar to an elongated depiction of a concentrated female pleasure zone. Once noticing the flower looked closer to a woman's genitalia, the classroom erupted with laughter, commenting to one another of how far off from a phallus the bloom looked like. The feminists quickly stated it had been male oppression creating the bias for the name, before the classroom discussion moved any further out of hand. Henry brought their attention to the plant and talked about the meaning behind the name, making personal commentary of the common name known as the corpse flower because of the rotting flesh aroma. He asked, or she asked, if anyone could find a correlation anywhere, additionally notating the several rare plants in bloom within a specific year's time, sending out that aroma. Looking around the classroom to see if the students were losing their attention to their own little debates, declaring as he cleared his or her throat to speak louder, I am he that lives and he who is dead. Or I shall clarify and say, I am she that lives and she who once was dead. Henry looked through each person in the classroom, sending chills throughout every atom of their beings, stating, so it has been written in the book of Revelations, chapter 1, verse 18. And that is the end of this particular reading of Failsafe, the Kennedy Curse fused with science fiction fantasy, written by me, Susan MeeLing, Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, etc. So, watch all of my official unedited in full videos. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Reverend MeeLing. Go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com. Look through everything that I've done. Read through the Ornery PSA, my journal blog, as well as click on the different pictures, and the links will take you to where you can purchase my books online. Thank you very much. Have a good one.